Why mornings sabotage diabetes? Most people with diabetes believe their blood sugar problems come from what they eat during the day. Lunch, dinner, snacks, desserts. But what almost no one realizes is that for many diabetics, blood sugar is already being sabotaged before breakfast is even finished, sometimes before the first sip of coffee. This is why so many people wake up confused and frustrated. They go to bed doing everything right, yet their morning glucose is higher than expected, and they assume their body is broken, their medication is failing, or diabetes is simply getting worse with age. In reality, the problem is often hidden in small morning habits that silently push glucose up, increase insulin resistance, and set the tone for unstable blood sugar for the rest of the day. Mornings are metabolically powerful. Hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, and glucagon naturally rise when you wake up. These hormones are designed to give you energy, but in diabetics they often overshoot. If you add the wrong habits on top of that hormonal surge, your liver releases extra glucose, your cells become less responsive to insulin, and blood sugar climbs even without food. Let's start with the first mistake. Mistake snub 1, skipping breakfast completely. Many diabetics skip breakfast thinking it will give their blood sugar a break, but for a large number of people this does the opposite. When you don't eat in the morning, cortisol rises to keep you alert and functional. Cortisol signals your liver to release stored glucose into the bloodstream. This means your fasting blood sugar can actually rise higher the longer you delay eating. On top of that, skipping breakfast increases insulin resistance later in the day. When you finally eat, your body struggles to process glucose efficiently, leading to larger spikes after lunch and dinner. This pattern quietly worsens A1C over time, even though total calories may be lower. Now let's move to the second mistake. Mistake 2, drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Coffee is not the enemy, timing is. Caffeine stimulates adrenaline and cortisol, especially in people with diabetes. When coffee is consumed without food, those stress hormones tell the liver to dump glucose into the bloodstream. That's why many diabetics see their blood sugar rise sharply after black coffee, sometimes more than after eating food. This effect is even stronger in people who already have insulin resistance or poor sleep. The breakfast trap most diabetics fall into. Now let's talk about one of the most damaging morning habits for diabetics, and one that is still widely recommended as healthy. Mistake step 3, starting the day with carbohydrates, even healthy ones. Whole grain toast, oatmeal, granola, fruit smoothies, even sugar-free cereals. These foods are often marketed as the perfect diabetic breakfast, but metabolically, morning is the worst time to lead with carbohydrates. When you wake up, insulin sensitivity is naturally lower, cortisol is high, your liver is already primed to release glucose. When you add carbohydrates on top of that hormonal environment, your body struggles to handle the incoming sugar load. The result is a sharp spike in blood glucose, followed by a crash that triggers hunger, cravings, and fatigue within hours. This is why many diabetics feel hungry again by mid-morning, even after eating breakfast. The body never stabilized, it reacted. Even complex carbohydrates like oats or whole grain bread break down into glucose. And in the morning, your muscles are not yet primed to absorb that glucose efficiently. Instead, it stays in the bloodstream longer, contributing to higher fasting readings, larger post-meal spikes, and gradual worsening of A1C. Starting the day with protein, healthy fats, and fiber sends a completely different signal to the body. It reduces liver glucose output, improves insulin signaling, and keeps blood sugar steady for hours. But most diabetics unknowingly do the opposite. Now let's move to the next silent mistake. Mistake 4, not drinking water before eating or drinking anything else. Dehydration raises blood sugar. This is not an opinion, it's physiology. When you're dehydrated, the concentration of glucose in your blood increases. Your kidneys also become less efficient at flushing excess glucose through urine. Overnight, your body loses water through breathing and sweat, even if you don't notice it. That means many diabetics wake up mildly dehydrated every single morning. If the first thing you consume is coffee, juice, or food without rehydrating, blood sugar readings can appear higher than they truly are. This leads to unnecessary stress, medication adjustments, or poor food decisions later in the day. Studies show that even mild dehydration increases insulin resistance and raises fasting glucose levels. Just 1 to 2 glasses of water in the morning can measurably improve glucose control before breakfast begins. Water also helps blunt the cortisol surge and improve circulation, allowing glucose to move into cells more efficiently once you eat. Yet most people skip this step entirely. They wake up, grab coffee, rush into breakfast, and unknowingly start the day metabolically disadvantaged. And unfortunately, the next mistakes are even more common and even more damaging over time. The stress-glucose connection most diabetics ignore. Now we enter a part of diabetes management that almost no one talks about, yet it may be more powerful than food itself. Mistakes 5. Starting the morning in a state of stress, urgency, or mental overload. Checking emails immediately, watching the news, rushing out of bed already worried about the day. These habits might seem harmless, but for a diabetic body, they trigger a powerful biochemical reaction. Stress hormones, especially cortisol and adrenaline, signal the liver to release glucose into the bloodstream. This response evolved to help humans escape danger, but today the danger is psychological, not physical. The glucose still gets released, but there is no muscle activity to burn it off. The result is an unexplained rise in blood sugar, even before eating. This is why some diabetics see higher morning readings on stressful days, even when their diet hasn't changed. Chronic morning stress trains the body to live in a glucose-elevated state. Over time, this worsens insulin resistance and pushes A1C upward. Just 5 to 10 minutes of calm breathing, light stretching, or quiet movement in the morning can lower cortisol significantly. This simple shift reduces liver glucose output and improves insulin response for the rest of the day. Your first mental state of the day matters more than you think. Now let's look at another mistake that quietly sabotages glucose control. Mistake 6. Waiting too long to check blood sugar, or checking it after stimulation. Many diabetics delay checking their glucose until after coffee, after breakfast, or after scrolling on their phone. This creates confusion. Caffeine raises cortisol, stress raises cortisol, food raises glucose. When you combine all three before checking, you lose clarity about what your body is actually doing at baseline. Fasting blood sugar is one of the most important signals of metabolic health. It reflects liver glucose production, insulin sensitivity, and overnight recovery. But if you check too late, you're no longer seeing fasting glucose, you're seeing a mixed hormonal response. This often leads people to think their diabetes is getting worse when in reality, they're simply measuring at the wrong time. Checking blood sugar shortly after waking before coffee, food, or stress gives a cleaner, more actionable number. It helps you understand whether the issue is nighttime glucose release, poor sleep, dehydration, or insulin resistance. Without this clarity, people make unnecessary medication changes, cut foods they don't need to cut, or feel discouraged for the wrong reasons. And unfortunately, the next two mistakes directly interfere with how your body uses glucose at the cellular level, even if everything else looks right. Why your body can't use sugar properly in the morning. Now we move into two mistakes that directly interfere with how your muscles, liver, and cells handle glucose, even if you're eating correctly. Mistake 7. Staying completely sedentary in the first hours after waking. After sleep, your muscles are in a low-activity state. Muscle tissue is one of the largest glucose sinks in the body. When muscles contract, they absorb glucose without needing much insulin. But when muscles stay inactive, glucose has nowhere to go. Many diabetics wake up, sit down immediately, eat breakfast, then sit again, driving, working, watching TV. In this state, glucose remains in the bloodstream longer, forcing the pancreas to release more insulin. Over time, this worsens insulin resistance. Even light movement in the morning dramatically changes this response. A short walk, gentle stretching, bodyweight movements, or household activity activates GLUT4 transporters in muscle cells. These transporters pull glucose out of the blood and into muscle tissue efficiently, lowering blood sugar naturally. Studies show that just 10 to 15 minutes of light movement after waking can reduce post-breakfast glucose spikes by up to 30%. This is not exercise in the traditional sense, it's metabolic activation. Skipping this step leaves your body metabolically asleep, even after food. Now let's talk about another timing issue most diabetics don't realize matters. Mistake 8. Eating breakfast too late, or skipping it entirely without intention. Some diabetics delay eating for hours unintentionally, thinking they're helping their blood sugar, but for many people this backfires. When you go too long without food in the morning, cortisol stays elevated. The liver continues releasing glucose to maintain blood sugar. This can result in higher late morning readings, irritability, cravings, and overeating later in the day. Skipping breakfast can work for some people, but only when it's done intentionally, with stable sleep, hydration, and stress control. When done accidentally, it often worsens glucose regulation. On the other extreme, eating too early without stabilizing hormones can also cause spikes. The key is timing breakfast after hydration, light movement, and nervous system calm. This creates an internal environment where insulin works efficiently, muscles are receptive to glucose, and blood sugar remains stable. Most diabetics focus on what they eat, but when and how they eat in the morning often matters just as much. And now we arrive at the final mistakes, the ones that quietly reinforce all the others if left uncorrected. The last two mistakes that keep blood sugar unstable we now reach the final two morning mistakes, and these are the ones that silently reinforce all the others if they go uncorrected. Mistake 9. Ignoring poor sleep and starting the day anyway. Sleep is not optional for blood sugar control. Even one night of poor sleep increases insulin resistance the next morning. Research shows that sleeping less than 6 hours can raise fasting glucose, increase cortisol, and impair how muscles absorb sugar for the entire day. When you wake up tired, your body is already stressed. The liver releases more glucose, insulin becomes less effective, hunger hormones rise, cravings intensify. This creates a metabolic environment where every morning decision feels harder than it should. Many diabetics blame breakfast, medications, or fruit when the real issue started the night before. You cannot out-eat or out-supplement bad sleep. Improving sleep quality often lowers fasting glucose more effectively than changing breakfast foods. Now let's look at the final mistake. Mistake 10, treating every morning as isolated instead of recognizing patterns. Many diabetics look at their blood sugar numbers emotionally instead of analytically. A high reading feels like failure. A low reading feels like success. But glucose control is not about single numbers, it's about patterns. If your blood sugar is consistently high in the morning, that tells a story. It could be cortisol, dehydration, late night eating, poor sleep, stress, or liver glucose output. But if you don't track patterns, you keep guessing. True control begins when you ask better questions. What happens on mornings I sleep well? What happens when I hydrate first? What happens when I move before eating? What happens when I reduce stress? Without this awareness, people keep repeating the same mistakes while expecting different results. And that's how diabetes quietly worsens, not overnight, but slowly through habits repeated every morning without awareness.
Final thought. If you recognize yourself in even 2 or 3 of these mistakes, don't feel discouraged. That awareness alone puts you ahead of most people. Morning habits set the metabolic tone for the entire day. Small changes, hydration, calm, movement, timing, compound into powerful results over weeks and months. If this video helped you see your mornings differently, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos on blood sugar control, aging, and metabolic health. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these morning mistakes surprised you the most? Leave a comment below. Your experience helps others feel less alone on this journey. Take care, and remember, consistency beats perfection every single time.